there's the other part which you are trained on the AI stuff, where you will get some feedback that on training AI and stuff. A lot of these platforms have been going around. I'm sure people are already aware of this.
So Blockchain Center is available for anyone who wants to host an event.
Yes.
Co-working space.
Yes.
Meetups with workshop. Hackathon. Wow.
So this space is more of an idea of trying to bring in Web3 people together. And aside just from the blockchain space and the Web3 people gaining experience and trying to create more meetups here, we realized that most of these communities are virtual. Okay. So we decided why not create a space.
Hello, hi, and welcome back again to Job Tech Voices. This is a podcast where we talk about digital work, digital economy, digital freelancing, gig work in general, and the future of work in Kenya and in Africa as a whole. In this podcast, as you know, we bring bold ideas, experiences that people have had. We also share new trends and what's happening around us, all matters to do with the future of work in our country. And we are very happy today that we have a new guest into our podcast. He is someone who has been into digital work and digital freelancing. But most importantly, he lives proof that digital work can be a gateway into multiple other things, specifically blockchain. And it's such an exciting day to talk about his journey and his experiences. And so welcome to the podcast, Don.
Thank you so much, Sam. My name is Don Bosco Achero Otunga. I am currently the lead operations and communications person for the Blockchain Center and also for Lido Nation. All these entities do or associate themselves with the blockchain space, more or less Lido Nation, where I focus on the Cardano blockchain. For myself, I started off as a freelancer, and then my journey slowly and gradually has been more into the blockchain space, more or less with the work I do here for Lido Nation and also the Blockchain Center.
Great. Yeah. It's nice to have you in this podcast. And actually, I'm quite excited because you've mentioned that you started off with digital freelancing, and this is an area that we would like to hear more about. To hear your journey. How did it start? What were you doing before you started freelancing? But also to start is, when did you start digital freelancing and how did you come into that?
Yeah. To start off, I feel like this was during the pandemic session. A lot of recession happened. A lot of layoffs happened. Yeah. At the moment, I was working as an IT guy for just doing small jobs for certain institutions.
Yeah.
More or less, when it happened, all systems were closed, and it being an educational institutions that depended on activity that people come in during the day, do courses and stuff. It had to come to a stop because of the restrictions that had to be placed in place for safety. During that time, it was very difficult to find means of sustainability, especially in Kenya. At the moment, I was staying in Nakuru. For the period or the majority of the time, we couldn't find any alternative sources. And then people started talking about freelance and things. The internet became a means of communications, a way of life for people who had already embraced it, adapted it. So more or less, people started seeing these opportunities coming around like, hey, we can earn money through online platforms. So I did try that for about the period from 2020 to around 2022. That's when I actually landed at Generation Kenya. And Generation Kenya is a program that actually helps the youth with the employability skills. So it just so happens at that time they were offering the digital freelance program.
Yeah.
So when I enrolled into the system, I was informed firsthand there are some new few necessities you need to have. Some are you done with high school? What has been your life? So they took me through these prep where they could assess me and see if I'm qualified to actually go through the program. themselves.
Just before you continue with generation, you've mentioned that 2020. Yeah, I know there was a lot of things happening around us, and many people realize that jobs are changing and people are getting into digital work and online space. You've mentioned you tried after COVID. You tried. Could you tell us your experience with trying? Because I feel like it didn't work so much before you joined Generation.
Yeah, more or less, I tried to do article writing and also content writing.
Yeah.
More or less, so these are the places or opportunities that I could see people doing stuff. I could not get an account myself. I don't know, the restrictions of the funds were not available for me to ascertain the payment of accessing such an account. Due to the fact that the accounts are not free, you need to pay some premiums for either the tools you're using, also all the access, also pay for internet.
So when you talk about the accounts not being free, you're talking about what type of accounts? Accounts that give you
exactly
jobs?
So let's say, for example, you are on freelancer.com, right? When you set up your account, you need to pay for certain exams for you to be qualified to apply for gigs and stuff.
Yes.
So that's about $100. If you don't have that cash at hand just to do it, it's a bit comfortable. And then you need to do some assessments. All those assessments are also paid for. Some you can get free, maybe level 1, level 2, but that doesn't make you more marketable to get the gigs that you want. So it becomes a very slow encroaching process where you're trying to get the funds, you're trying to pay means for supporting the same utility. You also have the technical aspect where it comes to access to things such as a laptop, a good laptop. Do you have a good internet connections? Are you able to sustainably pay for it every now and then?
Did you, when you're saying you're trying to get into now online freelancing, digital work, did you have the skills, or you are just, did you learn from someone before now coming into Generation? Had you learned from someone, or was there anyone to show you anything around these platforms?
Okay, prior to that, the only thing I knew was my skills that I had from college. I had finished a diploma in IT. I could quickly gain more skills through just learning and video tutorials on YouTube. And then when you come to ask people around, a lot of your friends, they tell you, hey, have you tried these out? This is the way you set it up, but that's it I know from that level. There was no one-to-one coaching or training that was done at that time. This was like everybody for himself. And the people who had also these means, some of them, if you tell them, can you train me, they'll always ask you for something up front. So it was a bit challenging. It's something, yes, you can do for yourself, but if you lack the necessary tools or the know-how, it becomes a bit challenging or takes you longer to get there.
I know a lot of people say that guys who are doing digital work are gatekeeping and they don't want to teach someone. I don't know whether that was the case for you, or it's just that genuinely people wanted you to pay. So I'm looking at this journey. It's 2020, and around 2021, you've tried getting into freelance work on your own. You're trying to create accounts or to sign up into platforms. Some of them require you to pay. And up until, you mentioned 2022 before, when you joined Generation?
Late 2022.
Late 2022. Yes. Up until 2022, had you managed any slight success into getting a job or earning anything?
Yes. Apparently, it wasn't the problem as much as getting a client, because I was lucky. I got 2 clients, but it was not on the content writing and article writing, but more or less on the graphic artwork. You have to keep on upskilling, trying to get a new skill to be marketable, see what works and what doesn't. So I tried out doing some graphic stuff, learned some of the tools that I used in the market. Apparently, I got a client, but these are more of one-time offers. You get paid, but the entirety of the frequency of the work is not that much. So you hit a snag where you need to choose, do I get more skills or do I look for better platforms? That up to that time, I used to do some of my IT stuff. I just I could procure some of the things that I had. assets that I had. Like I could go do installation services for
Yep.
people, and then they get paid. That was also a sustainable means of income,
Mhm.
but it's also not as frequent as possible that you'll get something which is continuous. So all the jobs that you could try up to that point, you just get it, try see if it works or not.
Mhm.
During my process, I actually did some work for some guy. It was more or less related to the government side.
Uh-huh.
We did some procurement for about 20 computers where we just install Windows, do some maintenance, dusting, and stuff.
Yep.
And then this guy told me, hey, by the way, there's this opportunity that is also sponsored as part of the county government.
Mhm.
Go check it out. It's here. So apparently the location where it was is just a distance I could walk from my home
Yeah.
in Nakuru. So I walked to the place. That's when I actually my first interaction with Generation Kenya.
Mhm.
I met a very good mentor and tutor called Mary.
Mhm.
I think she was in the middle of a class when I joined.
Yeah.
So I couldn't distract them. So I just took a seat. And then after she had given the lecture, she gave me time. And then she said, okay, come back tomorrow so that we can facilitate and tell you what you're about and everything and how to get you onboarded.
Great. So what I can hear is that, yeah, before this now late 2022, you've tried getting into digital work and freelance on your own.
Yes.
There's some work, but it's not sufficient.
Exactly.
And some platforms are, straining you. But then you are on your own errands in Nakuru, and then you come across Generation Kenya.
Exactly.
What is Generation Kenya and what is it all about?
Yeah, so I was saying, once I came about Generation Kenya is when I learned that they are actually into trying to get the youth into having employability skills.
Yep.
So they train you. The programs may vary. There's the digital freelance program. There's also, I think there's something on the call center stuff, something on the, what's this thing called? Call centers, and then there's the hotel management staff bits and pieces. They have different types of programs that go about, but at that point and moment in time, the digital freelance program is the one which was ongoing. Then I learned that all you need to require is that you could have finished high school.
Yeah.
That was one qualification. You can ascertain to be present from Monday to Friday, about 6 hours of those hours where the training is going without fail. And this training was supposed to go for a period of 6 months. So during that, being told that after the training, there's also a mentorship period.
Yeah.
Where you get linked to an active recruitment or an active application of whatever you're doing. So what these people are trying to do, they are referred to as agents. You may refer to them as contributors also to the same platform or partners for Generation Kenya. So these can be literally anyone. They can be people who are doing freelance. They can be people who have created a company around them doing the same work they're trying to do. So there's always that opportunity of them absorbing, and they know how the market works and stuff. So I went through the 6 months program.
So you've joined Generation and you're supposed to be available at least 6 hours a day.
Yes.
What are you training on? What are some of the skills that you're learning?
Yeah. Okay. So for the digital freelance program, it started off with the basic skills. There's something called BSM. So those are just normal behavioral skills and mindsets.
Yeah.
These are your everyday skills that you need in order to work with people, in order to also put yourself in a position that you are marketable enough.
Yeah.
You need to be able to talk to clients well enough. You need to talk to people you're going to work with well enough, so that you can articulate what you're trying to say and pass through and not create a lot of misunderstanding. There's also the part of bits of financial management, because they understand at one point you may be having access to flow of cash that you've not previously getting used to, especially with my on and off days. So there's a bit of where they train you how to manage and actually be financially responsible. Aside from that, BSM sides, is the actual skills. So there was translations and
Yeah.
transcriptions.
Mhm.
There was Canva, so that was on the
Okay.
design side.
Graphic design. Yeah.
Exactly. They also teach you data analytics. So, and you're able to actually discern the information you're getting from using tools such as Google Docs,
Mhm.
Google Spreadsheets, every other platforms on that. So, entirely the Google Workspace, you are taken through it.
Mhm.
You are taught how best to approach projects. Also, how do you charge clients?
Oh wow!
How
Yeah,
do
I
you
know. I know a
ascertain?
lot of people have a lot of confusion around dealing with clients.
Exactly. How do you ascertain a project's worth?
Uh-huh.
Is this project worth this much for this duration?
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because there are certain projects which are easy to do, but they take really long hours,
Yeah.
especially things something like data entry.
Okay.
Because part of data analysis is data entry, so you have to have a source of the data. If you have not been provided the data, they'll always refer you to resources where you can fetch the data from. So that can be tidy, takes a lot of time. Maybe you have a timeline and stuff. So how do you charge a client at that perspective? It's not that hard because you're just doing copy and pasting, and maybe there's no form or direct method of exporting the entire data set. So you have to copy paste every single bit of it and structure it on itself before you make the analysis bit. So with that, and aside from that, also depends on your experience. How often or how experienced are you with dealing the specifics the client is giving forth? Are you also able to tell the client you're at this level, or do you just want to get then you need the job fast and then do something? So this is more of about a self-assessment and also based on the skills you've done. This is where the mentorship part is really helpful.
Okay.
Because the mentorship is you're getting attached to industry people who are more or less focused on that specific industry. So they're able to teach you and know your loopholes and also the places where you can improve. And you get to also know or experience how they do charge their clients. So they'll tell you.
So hold on that thought, because now you're getting into mentorship, but also what I've heard from the training you're mentioning is that you're learning technical skills. You know, you mentioned transcription, graphic design, data analysis, translation, but also you've mentioned that beyond these technical skills, there are other skills you've mentioned BSM, behavior and mindset skills, which I find quite interesting because a lot of people do not come across these skills when they are getting into digital work and online freelancing. How do you communicate with someone? You've mentioned how do you cost your work? How do you communicate your worth? How valuable did you find these skills?
Extremely valuable because I've tend to find that during you can be a group of 10 people. All of you are qualified for the same job. But what sets you apart is the behavioral mindsets and skills. The way you actually approach problem solving. Do you exhibit a growth mindset? Are you ready to learn new skills? Or do you say, okay, this is not for me, call it quits and pick up your stuff, try another place? Are you also comfortable in handling pressure? Because that's one of the things which are being tested every now and then. It comes a bit handy. How do you actually handle when things are going chaotic in your environment? You're trying to get things done on a deadline. There's a lot of pressure. How do you still maintain your composure? Do you know when to take the time off? Right? Do you even know how to request for the time off? That's part of the communication that you need to be made.
You've mentioned something about pressure, and someone the other day was telling me that one of the things they're worried about working with some young people in the country, it's a number of excuses when it comes to online work. Someone says, there's no power. You give them work, they have not delivered. And the excuses are power, internet, or I had to attend some event. My mom called me and they didn't communicate that to you before. So that their work they won't deliver the work. So it's quite interesting to hear what you're saying and what you're talking about managing pressure in work. And beyond that, because these are the soft skills you're talking about, how did the technical skills look like?
Well, if you are referring to how they teach, okay, they take you through the introductory bits. They're able to assess what is the level of each person there.
Okay.
And then there's the bits where they give you sets of data
Mhm.
for you to interpret and stuff. They try to pair you into groups
Okay.
so that you're able to work with people who are better off. This is also more or less trying to match up people who have already the skills or have the experience with people who literally are new into this.
Yeah.
So this also helps the other people to catch up and learn from their peers. It's more of a less peer-to-peer coaching, which was initiated back and forth every time you are doing that, because it's easy for you to learn from a fellow individual who's
Okay.
in the same cohort with the same experience than you learning from a teacher. They don't want to give you all the things. Some of the things you have to provide for yourself, and also know when you're actually going to request help, because once you get out from the mentorship program, the access that you have to most of the tools are the people you went to school with, and also the
So
alumni.
these are your classmates.
Exactly. And also the alumni association, because there's groups for those too. So maybe in Facebook, you may meet one or two people say, hey, you're an alumni of Generation Kenya. I did this at this time and this. What was your
Yeah.
experience?
Mhm.
So this is something which I've faced, maybe let's say more or less. People always reach out to me, say, hey, I've seen you've done Generation Kenya program. How was it? Can you give us any recommendations? Should I do it? And what are the things that I need to know before venturing into it? And then you have your fellow alumni who reach out to you. Hey, do you know how to do this
Okay.
exactly? Or maybe they saw you during class really achieving or excelling at a specific task.
Mhm.
They reach out and say, hey, I need help with this. I have this project. The client need this. This is the timeline. Are you able to assist? I'm able to give you certain percentage of the total worth of the project.
I see.
So that also creates honesty between the alumni, because you are always having at most good faith with each other. So there's no point where you feel like the other person is taking advantage of you. Otherwise, if you're not going through the program, being taught the BSM skills, you literally have nothing on the other person. There's no sense of belonging. There's no
Okay.
sense of responsibility even attached to it.
Yeah. You've also mentioned mentorship. How long did the mentorship period last, and how was it like?
Okay, so for our case, when I was joining,
Yeah.
the mentorship period only lasted for 2 weeks, and it was fully virtual.
Okay.
Yeah. Afterwards, after our cohort, like 2-3 cohorts past us, the mentorship changed to 6 weeks program, where the 4 weeks were fully physical. These could be able to ascertain, and this is also based on the feedback on the previous cohorts. They needed more time on the mentorship program, and also to gain the correct skills that were needed.
Okay.
Yes, during the COVID time and restrictions, it was more profitable to do, because this is just actually post-COVID. So some of the things are not fully functional. But when most of the things and the community was actually back to normal, people could travel, do a lot of interactions, schools were resuming. It was actually more profitable for people to be there in person.
Okay.
Which actually helped a lot, because of you get to interact with people physically. There's just a different aspect to it when you are questioning or someone is showing you something physically than the virtual space.
Okay.
The virtual space was actually retained mostly for questions and answers, or maybe just to make a quick feedback on how your journey is, how are the things, are you still doing good? And also after the mentorship, there's a 3 months post mentorship.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So this is where they follow up on the activities you are doing. They always call you. Yeah, we are calling from this. How are you doing? What are you up to? Are you still doing freelance? What are the things which you are doing currently? Have you learned any new skills? Did the money grow, or are you still stuck at the same gap? What can we do to help your experience or ease your way into getting more access to financial streams, and also getting some cash flow your way?
Wow. Okay. So did the money grow for you?
Yeah, that's why I'm here, right? Yeah, actually, for me, it was more of an upward trend, because every now and then, after the post, actually, I should say this, because immediately after getting the graphics design aspect and knowing how to talk to a client, while I was still doing the training, I got 2 projects.
Yeah.
So one of the projects was actually on a recurrent basis, but it
Mhm.
wasn't every 2 weeks. A client will come up, need some graphics design for their social media.
Yeah.
I'll do them, charge them this much, and keep up with the communications. Always asking them, "Hey, do you have good? Are you good? How are they working?"
Mhm.
The feedback was mostly positive. I've
Yeah.
actually done that contract until sometime last year.
Oh wow.
The last bit, I think, I did it last year around November, December.
So you get a contract on graphic work
Yes.
around 2022 when you're doing the program.
Yes.
And you have this client who gives you contract once in a while.
Yes.
And you're saying you've done it up until somewhere last year.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And then at that point is when I got to be part of the people who were actually training people after my mentorship was done.
Uh-huh.
They saw my skill asset, what I bring to the table, and they said, "Hey, we have this opportunity for you." As I
Okay.
already said, the gig community that were trying to do or attaching people, training people on the skills themselves, the people already having clients and stuff. They got me onboarded, more or less primarily to help on the design and their media section. So
I
this is also
see.
based on the other and also based on the analysis. They needed some reports to be generated every once in a while. So based on
Okay.
the data of the students, this was to be reported back.
So what you're saying now is you've done generation training, you've done mentorship.
Yes.
Then post that, you have a few clients, but also you're joining part of the team that delivers the sessions.
Yes.
To support them with, communications you've mentioned.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the communication bit and social media, it was communication and social media. The bits and pieces themselves were more about trying to get awareness on gig economy itself,
Okay.
as it was happening in Kenya at that time, and also trying to make their content more appreciable to the different genders.
Yes.
And also people who are consuming their content. And they also need some internal documentations on their own self. And these are all skills which were taught during the mentorship. So you get to know, this is the part where I do a report. This is the part where I fetch the data.
Okay.
This is the part where I ask the questions. I don't have this data. Where do I get it from? I don't have this. Are you good with this or that? So the clarification on the tasks and the deliverables was way easier because coming fresh from the training and the mentorship, you are just ready to go. You have these skills, so you just keep on reiterating what you've been doing. There's nothing new. That's what I tend to find out. It only gets better.
So only gets better.
Yeah.
So what I hear is that you are now doing social media management.
Yes.
I'm also curious now at this point. Earlier on when we started, you mentioned trying your way into freelancing, getting into generation learning, and joining a community or a network of alumni. Now working with one of the partners, being a social media manager. How has your interaction with income changed at this point? Because the whole idea is to make money. So how does it look at this point?
So at this point, you are having a contract. So it was a 6 months contract to start off because it was based on the performance and evaluation that were made. So in these 6 months, you have to prove that you're worthy of having the title and doing the deliverables that is required. So you have a fixed stream of income, but at the same time, it's not limited because this was like a 4 hours gig you do.
Okay.
And then there's the other gig I used to do, which was coming after every 2 weeks. And then there's the other part which you are trained on the AI stuff, where you could get some feedback data on training AI and stuff. A lot of these platforms have been going around. I'm sure people are already aware of this. During that moment, it was actually really easy to get into because all you needed is to set up an account and you're good to go. Do some assessments. You get also paid every 2 weeks. So at this point, I have my mentorship thing going on, which earns me a fixed income. And then I have the graphics thing going on, and also I have the AI training thing going on.
I think I would ask because my viewers would like now to hear. You mentioned now at this point you have a full time, you have graphic work, but also you have platforms. You've mentioned something to do with AI training,
Mhm.
and being very specific, what are some of these platforms now you are working on, and how are they changed from back in 2020 when you are not able to work in them? How about now?
Yeah, actually, I did not have. I was aware of them back then.
Uh-huh.
These platforms are already existing. So a good example is there was Remote Task.
Uh-huh.
There's the current one, right? There are other two platforms. Clickworker. There
Clickworker,
was
yes.
Clickworker, and then there is another one. Outlier.
Outlier.
Yes. So these were the current trending platforms on AI trading or getting gig work done.
Yeah.
Which was really nice to know the way to set up based on the mentorship. The mentors are the ones who actually help us setting the account successfully.
Mhm.
Because most of the time you'll get into these accounts and then they have issues when with your accounts, you get verifications wrong, you are out.
Yeah.
How do you approach the application process successfully?
Yes.
What are the do's and what are the don'ts? So these were
Okay.
something which I actually had to learn from the mentorship bits.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a journey of a few years, and it's interesting to hear now how that is changing from training into
Mhm.
actually working the digital space. And for those who are watching, we are recording this episode from Blockchain Center, which is a center that Don will tell us more about, because I know your journey has moved into other areas. And tell us about where we are, Blockchain Center.
Yeah, so the Blockchain Center is a community meetup and event space, such as ourselves right now.
Yeah.
We are trying to do a podcast. So we are open Monday to Friday and Saturdays if you have events. You can also find us on Saturdays from 10 to 3 p.m.
Yeah.
Today being a Sunday, we also make exemptions on how available the client is and
Okay.
people who want to use the space. So I will literally say we are always open to the clients. So this space is more of an idea of trying to bring in Web3 people together. And aside just from the blockchain space and the Web3 people gaining experience and trying to create more meetups here, we realized that most of these communities are virtual.
Okay.
So we decided, why not create a space? And this is not just because out of the blue, because of the space. This is because we also tried hosting a few events sometime last year. What we found out is that most of the space and the rental space is a bit expensive.
Okay.
Another thing is that they are not accessible. Another thing is that they don't come fully furnished with the equipment you need that are ready to go. With the blockchain space, we are building as we go. Right now, being marketing it for the event spaces that we're trying to hold here. It's not only blockchain, tech, or AI events that are being hosted here. It's open to the community. We welcome all Web2 based companies and other people also are interacting there. If you want to hold a space, a meetup, also we have co-working options.
Co-working space, yeah.
Yes, exactly. You get at affordable rates, which I feel like most people can be able to achieve, especially with the digital economy booming.
Okay.
Trying to make it a community space where someone can come in, do an event. You are welcome. If you, in case you are very curious about Web3, we are able to inform you what we actually deal. That is more or less the live donation part of it, because live donation ideally is blockchain education and outreach, where we try to enlighten people about what is Web3 and what is blockchain and how is it different from crypto. Is it one and the same thing?
I have similar questions.
Are you guys trying to scam us here or something?
So
yeah.
Just to cut you short, because you've mentioned a number of things. We are currently at Blockchain Center, Kilimani, and we've talked about freelancing.
Yes.
So how do these two connect? How did you end up now in blockchain and lead donation and Blockchain Center?
Yeah. Part of my journey that I didn't mention, because more or less it wasn't directly involved in my journey in generation and freelance. I used to do coding some time back then. And then there are these different facets of programming.
Yeah.
So you end up being in one or two communities where people are doing this. And then you get to ask people, or during the meetups, you ask, hey, what are you programming on and stuff? So there was this guy who used to tell me is a smart contract developer. And then I used to wonder, what is a smart contract developer?
Yeah.
Because, for instance, these are new terms to me. And then I will ask him, what is the programs or the languages you are working on? And then he will tell me certain programming languages. I'm like, I've not heard of that.
Yeah.
So upon further clarifications is when I try to inquire more about it. Then I say, oh, crypto, blockchain. Then it wasn't a one-to-one interaction. It's much something that I discovered later. And then I got into this space due to another friend who was also an alumni. Why?
Oh, okay.
Because this guy, as part of his skill set and the clients he worked for, he actually had to deal with Binance. So I actually went. I was so curious with them. I hooked up with him. He's actually around Kilimani right now. He works around this place too. So he taught me everything that has to do with Binance. Okay. And then that's when I actually called to my friend. I said, hey, you said you're a smart contract developer. What exactly do you do? What do you build on? So he said you build on Ethereum.
Okay.
So Ethereum is a blockchain, blockchain space where people do this and that. And I was very curious. So I started interacting with them. This is throughout the year in 2023. Okay. Interacting them with more. What does this do? And then I discovered things such as custodial and non-custodial wallets. How safe one is.
We will get into that.
How safe one is opposed to other. What is the restrictions? How do I create one and stuff like that? Yeah. We ended up using mostly MetaMask, so that's a very popular wallet, as people may know it, and also got some of the custodial things such as Coinbase and Binance, and also I don't know if people are aware of this, but AirTM is actually one of this centralized platforms, because sometimes when we were trading the AI, we used to get paid in USD. Okay. But it's sent through AirTM, and AirTM actually converts it into USDT. So this is a stable coin that can be used. So that was the main source of pain. So it started making a lot of sense on what I was interacting with, based on the mentorship, based on the wallets I created previously, and based on the knowledge I know about Binance. But I didn't have this whole thing put together. Okay. So during my interview, actually I did an interview for marketing and association and communications. So for the period of the last year, I've been doing marketing and communications for Light Donation. That was before the entirety and the ideology behind the blockchain center. So you are so curious about blockchain, considering your background in coding. Yes. Then you came across Light Donation. Exactly. And you're saying now you joined as marketing and communication associate. Okay. And what is Lead Nation all about? Because you've mentioned so many things that are very new to many people, or we don't understand a lot around blockchain. What is Lead Nation? Light Donation is a blockchain and outreach community. Aside from it, trying to teach people about blockchain, it is also a stake pool in the Cardano blockchain. We also build tools on Cardano itself. So this actually helps us to build for the community. And also we write a lot of articles, basically news, parameters on anything that has to do with blockchain, that is on the Cardano side, Ethereum side, and also Bitcoin in general. So if you head over to lightdonation.com, you'll always find that the resources there are more or less tailored towards a beginner level or to advanced level. The idea behind blockchain education is that the founders wanted to create something simple enough so that everyday Jen and Jerry can understand. And also complex enough so that the people who are at advanced level can get bits on it. Or maybe you iterate or learn something new. Because more or less when they tried to look for these articles that takes one through the whole process, they didn't find any good articles. So they decided, why not do it for ourselves and give it to the community where people can also do this. The platform welcomes anyone who wishes to write about blockchain. So it's a review. You can always do an email at hello@lidonation.com if you're interested in writing an article on Cardano, Ethereum, or Bitcoin, especially on the current trends and adoptions and policies which are affecting us at the moment.
Wow. And I know there's so many people who are so curious about blockchain, Ethereum. You know, a lot of people know Bitcoin, but when it comes now to Ethereum, Cardano, and the likes, it's also very new to me. What you're saying is that Lido Nation builds a community of people interested in blockchain.
Yes.
Educating them, and also you can contribute to Lido Nation's articles and content.
Yes.
Oh, wow. So yeah, it's interesting because now freelancing, now you're doing marketing and communication for Lido Nation.
For the past year, I've been doing that. At the moment, I hold the positions for operations and communications.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, that's quite a journey. And then now, Blockchain Center.
Yes, sometime last year when things were going across, you were spending too much in just creating an event. That wasn't when the idea was born. The Blockchain Center itself is a partnership between Lido Nation and also WADA Global. So WADA is from West Africa. They also facilitate and try to give blockchain outreach, especially the entirety of Africa. So if you go to West and Central Africa, they have a very huge name there.
Okay.
So the idea here is to create a place where community can meet, people can do events, and also have access to utilities that are easily accessible without necessarily procuring from themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. The capacity here should be able to ascertain us to about 150 individuals for a conference setup, which is really nice because we can be able to shift based on the demand and the type of event being hosted here. We do have access to projectors, we do have access to seating, we do have access to tables. So we provide all this in-house and they're included at the final charge at no extra cost to the hosts.
Great. So Blockchain Center is available for anyone who wants to host an event.
Yes.
Co-working space.
Yes.
Meetups with
workshop, hackathons.
Wow. Hackathons. Is it do you have necessarily to be in the Web3 tech space, or it's open to anyone?
So as I'd already mentioned, part of it on our training and education is to try to get people to understand the benefits of implementing Web3 into the ecosystem. So the space is open ideally to anyone who wants to create a meetup or a workshop or an event.
Okay.
So it isn't restricted to Web3 people only. So the people also are building on Web2. You are welcome here. Anyone, because most of the stack is actually the same aside from the on-chain stuff, which usually happen on the blockchain itself. All the other stuff are similar tools which we usually use. The event is not only for tech enthusiasts, but also for people who are just trying to create a small group and meet up. Ideally is to find a way for people to know more about blockchain and Web3 and how different it is from the crypto itself. And also to engage themselves in securing themselves with the knowledge, enough knowledge to not be taken advantage of. That's one of the things which in Kenya generally people are highly misinformed on.
Okay.
So we try to eliminate that misinformation by providing the education bit, so that if anyone comes here from a Web2 background, we may be able to tell them what Web3 is, what blockchain is, what cryptocurrency is, what a wallet is, how do all the three interact with each other, and how can you apply it in your business, or is it something for you really?
Great.
Yeah.
Wow. I think we might have to do another episode to talk about blockchain. You've talked about different currencies. You've talked about Web2 and Web3. Yeah, great. Well, quite an engaging conversation, Don. I see. Yeah, definitely. We may have another episode to talk about all those other details. But also, as we wrap up, looking at your journey from back in 2022 back in 2020, getting into freelance and digital work, getting into coding, and now blockchain and lead donation. What has been the biggest lessons through that journey?
First of all, I would like to thank the Generation Community and Alumni Association
Mhm.
because they have held my back. This position that I currently hold
Yeah.
was in due diligence for knowing someone who actually say, "Hey, are you able to do something like this?" So the opportunity opened doors for me to be actually here.
Yeah.
So I will say, having a community at the back is a really good thing.
Yeah.
Also, contributing to the same community feels like you're giving back what you've got. You want someone else to be in the same position you are, to get the advantages and opportunities they are, as long as they're willing to put in the time
Yes.
and sacrifice required for you to be there.
So you're saying that people doing online work, gig work, they shouldn't live solitary solo life. They need a
It's
community.
very dangerous if you try to be a loner.
Mhm.
It doesn't work out alternately when things change.
Okay.
These tech stack and people who are working in certain platforms, things keep on changing. You
Mhm.
always need that one person who knows something different from you, who can always tell you, "Hey, there's this coming up. Are you familiar about it?" Aside
Yeah.
from that, you also need to keep check of your social health and mental health. This is because most of the people doing digital freelance, they work from home.
Yes.
So there's the possibility of you staying week 1, 2, 3 indoors, only coming out to do shopping and stuff. It's good for you to keep in touch with the community, give yourself breaks so that the pressure from the work and also just have normal human interaction so that where you feel like you're not straining enough and also you're still productive enough to be able to come back tomorrow and do the same job over and over again.
Great. Awesome. And what are some of the wins you'd mentioned from this journey? Because what I can see is digital work, online freelancing, and then also getting into corporate and blockchain and this center.
Yeah.
What are, the moments you celebrate most?
Oh, of course, the promotions. Always, always being told, "Hey, you're up for a promotion. We need you to do this now.
Okay.
Are you able to do it or not?" That's one thing which I feel like is gratifying because you actually feel like the process, you trusted the process, you've done what was required, and actually you get feedback from it. That's one. Another thing is there's no one rule that fits all.
Okay.
So you have to keep on trying until you get there. Alternatively, there's some people who shift from corporate to digital freelance because that's more profitable for them. They get more time to their thing. So there's no one rule that fits all. It may also be that the digital freelance is the what actually needs you to get to the corporate world.
Okay.
So you don't have to look at it as a one-way traffic or ongoing. This is the way that has to follow. Everything and every chances and opportunities that come your way, just try it, see if it works for you or not. The feedback is always there.
Awesome. Amazing. You've had no one way fits everything. Yeah, you can move from corporate to freelance, from freelance to corporate. You have to keep on trying until you come across something that really works for you. And yeah, this podcast is all about the future of work. What do you think is the future of work in relation to what you're doing?
Okay, right now, the future is going to be more digital. So as much as we are trying to do something here for the community, we have to keep in mind things are transitioning to online platforms. More or less, when I say Web3, this is where we get in and we try to do education on Web3 and what it can offer you in the coming digital age. What choices do you have towards your financial inclusions? What choices do you have towards your privacy? Especially with the big tech companies holding a lot of the resources on the Web2 space. Do you have a space where you can have your data not be interacted or attached to identity? So the security and privacy offered by Web3 is an alternative to some of the things which are being done on Web2. And also there's some something such as verifiable credentiality, where if something is on chain, someone can prove it as it existed and cannot be deleted. So that gives you much confidence in the direction on the digital edge and Web3 as an ecosystem too.
Great. You've heard it. The future of work is Web3. And thanks so much, Don, for making time to be part of our podcast. Guys, there's a lot that has been shared. You can move from digital freelance, online freelance into corporate. You can move from corporate into digital freelance. This is more of a platform. Don has shared a lot of lessons around getting your skills right. Behavioral and mindset skills are very important. You need to know how to understand your customer, how to rate yourself. You need to understand how to interact with people, your communication skills. How do you rate yourself and price your services? Build a network of people around you that can show you the way and tell you you're going wrong here or there's a new trend here. We've also talked about blockchain and that being the future of web and working around us. Feel free to comment, share this episode. We would like to hear your comments and your views around blockchain and around freelance. Also, you're welcome at Blockchain Center. It's in Kilimani. So come and host your event, or in case you need a co-working space, this is also a place that you can come in. Thank you so much for your time. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Until next time.